Hey guys, last night we had an awesome night. We hung out with our high school students and we talked through the books of Joshua and Judges. And man, it was a big chunk. But in case you missed it, we want to give you a little update about what we talked about last night. Here's one of the things that I have heard many times when I preach, when I share about relationships or just life in general. I've heard many times people come back to me and say, David, that just isn't real life. That's not what real life is like. And that has always thrown me off because the truth, the real truth behind that is Jesus is offering us real life. And the scriptures show us what real life looks like. So we wanted to look at the book of Joshua and the book of Judges and kind of put them together as contrasting events in the history of the Hebrew people. So in the book of Joshua, it starts off with God saying in that famous saying, "Be strong and courageous. Walk with me. I'm going to give you this land that I've promised you." And then you go through the book of Joshua, and for the most part, the people of Israel did what God asked them to do, and they were successful, just like God said they would be in Joshua 1. So it was a pretty cool thing to see the obedience of the Israelite people in the book of Joshua. That was the first half. In the second half, it was like a distribution of property and how they were all going to get the land and dwell in the promised land. And then it went to the book of Judges, and in the book of Judges, they go through these cycles of obeying and doing good, and then rebelling and disobeying, and then being sent into exile, and then being rescued by a judge, and then doing good for a little while, and it just would constantly go over and over again in cycles of that rebellion, or the obedience to rebellion, to exile, to return to, and it just kind of kept going for a while and a while and a while. And if we look at these in our lives, we look at the story of Joshua as ideal, as if we are going to follow God's promises and do the things that he asks us to do, we see those things and we're like, man, I wish that life was like that. I wish that when I followed Jesus, I was able to do these types of things. And we have this grandiose picture of what that looks like. And it almost feels like it's unattainable to us to be able to reach those things. And then we look at the book of Judges, and we see the book of Judges as frankly, a quite accurate depiction of what our lives can be like sometimes as we go through these cycles. And we, as humans, so often say that Judges, the book of Judges, that cycle is the real life, and that the book of Joshua is ideal. And what we talked about last night is how we have that just wrong. That when we follow God and when we do the things that he's asked us to do, and when we step out in faith and believe in the promises of God, then the real life that we're talking about, it's the real life that Joshua had, where we can walk into our promises knowing that they are ours, knowing that we are forgiven, that we are loved, that he who began a good work in us is faithful to complete it, knowing that we are children of God, and the number of any other of the promises in Scripture, we can walk knowing that those things are real. They are not some unattainable big thing somewhere up in the sky that maybe if we do good enough, but they are right there at our grasp, and all it takes is us to have faith and believe in the things that Jesus has said about us and who we are, and about what we're about and who we're going to follow. Thanks so much for taking the time to watch this. We hope it blesses you. We hope you're able to stay connected with HSM. Be sure that you are liking and subscribing and hit the notification button so that you can keep up to date on everything that we are doing on this YouTube page. We love you guys. God bless. Have a wonderful week.